Yes, so MAGA turning on Amy Comey Barrett because she's not doing what they want is peak moment, I think, for white women to pay attention to this. Because, ladies, they hate us too. They only don't hate us if we are towing the line and making them little white babies. This also shows what happens when two cults come into conflict with each other. I'm Danielle, a scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership. I wrote a book called Uncultured about growing up in the Children of God religious cult and going into the cult of the U.S. Army. You can get signed copies attached here. So Amy Comey Barrett is in a cult called People of Praise. It is a breakaway Cathvangelical cult, right? Like it's Catholic supposedly, but it's put a lot of evangelical Christian nationalism, crazy crap into it. The women are literally called handmaids. It is creepy AF. So there's always this question, right? She's in her cult, and she, we see now, is more dedicated to her cult than to the cult of MAGA. One cult is going to win when they come into conflict with each other. Mormons, many Mormons in the military, and guess what? The military caved and gave them their own special underwear, because for Mormons, the Mormon cult comes before the military cult. And so you can be in two cults at once, as we see, but there's always going to be a hierarchy. But I'm right now reading this book, White Women Get Ready, which also will be pinned here if you want a copy. This is kind of my answer to what can we do right now? Get ready, educate yourself, do the work to be able to talk to the women whose brainwashing gets cracked and they come out of this, because they're going to need our help. So this is an interesting point when we talk about Amy Coney Barrett. How much influence do the other women justices have on her? And I think they probably do. I think that's probably significant. But there's also really interesting research I want to tell you all about having 3 women on a board. So there was a study that showed that you have to have 3 women on a board to get the value of having one woman's perspective. Because if you only have one woman, she has to play the game, right? This is kind of me in the Army as one of the first women on a deliberate ground combat team. Like, we had to be perfect and masculine, in a masculine definition of perfect. This is my book about growing up in the Children of God religious cult and going into the cult of the U.S. Army. You can get signed copies here. Okay, so then if you have 2 women on a board, now they're pitted against each other, like literally on purpose. And I used to watch the guys in my unit try to do this. You know, there was usually only, like, many times I was the only woman on the staff. And then as the intelligence officer, and then another woman would come in and they would come running to me and be like, hey ma'am, have you seen the competition yet? And I would just always look at them. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, you mean my new best friend? Because there's like literally only 2 of us. Okay, finally, when you have 3 women, they are each kind of now socially allowed to have their own opinion because there's 3 of them. And this is how it works for, like, basically any minority, right? If you are the only one in the room, you have to play the status quo game. If there are 2 of you, you get pitted against each other. If there are 3 of you, you all get to be individuals, which is what cisgendered white men get all the time. The privilege of being seen as individuals and allowed to have individual opinions and ideas. So that would just be an interesting thing to throw into the conversation about having 3 women justices. I'm Danielle, a scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership.